Hello again. Uh, Before we get going, I'll remind you to like, subscribe, comment, uh, participate, share, etc. Today, the name of this is We've Come to a Turning Point. I think that's the name of it. And, you know, since the worldwide medical maneuver, before that, I was listening to different financial, what I would call experts, people who were contrarian, alternative to what you see on the everyday legacy news. And they were all saying, look here, it is imminent, at least inevitable, if not surely imminent. The way things have been going, with the way the prices of houses were exploding, um, other aspects of our economy were growing. The stock market was growing, growing, growing. Something's got to happen here. We're in a bubble. Of course, since that time, we've seen our national debt just explode by the trillions, and so even the more conservative folks are saying, well, there's something going on. But don't worry. We don't want anybody to get excited. Don't worry. But while you're not worrying, you might be losing all your savings. Okay? I mean, you need to realize that that's a possibility. You need to understand what's going on with your wealth. So I am not a financial expert, but I have to take care of myself, and I certainly want to help other people who might not be thinking about it. So I'm sharing with you. So, um, you know, I was hearing back over 5 years ago. Hey, look, we may have. It could be an inflationary situation. It could be a deflationary situation. It could be some type of recession or series of recessions. It all depends on how they manipulate things. It could be something bigger than the Great Depression. In fact, most people did think it would be something bigger than the Great Depression. And why? Because our debt, etc., is just everything so much larger than anything. Um, we've sort of pushed. You've heard the people talk about. We've been kicking the can down the road, and my whole adulthood, I've been listening to people talk about. We're putting our children into debt. While we're doing what my generation is doing, our children are going further and further and further into debt. So it's not been a good situation for decades, really, in many ways. We haven't been being responsible for many decades, and now uh, the cows come home, or whatever the expression is. So, but apparently, someone's been keeping things floating, right, going. And one way they do this, primary way, is by keeping things what they call liquid. They keep adding money to the money supply, and that keeps people spending money. And as long as you're spending money, even though the value of that money is going dissipating into nothingness, um, people seem to be still happy. They still have a job. The job where they were making $50,000 10 years ago, they're still making $50,000 today. And of course, it's not only worth $40,000 or whatever, but at least they've got a job and they're still spending money, right? Or like we send our all of our industry overseas so that they make things for pennies on the dollar compared to what we would make them here in the United States. And so the products we buy are cheap enough for us to keep uh, our economy flowing. Okay, that doesn't mean we have a healthy economy. So they've been doing different kind of things to avoid this crash, to keep the bubble up and keep it from falling apart. But you know, they tell us that our, like for example, our inflation. The government tells us that our inflation is 5%, where other experts who do the calculation see it as over 10%. And why would this be? Well, maybe it's because the government doesn't count food or energy in our inflation calculations for the government, which is silly. Now, they haven't done this historically. They just did this in the last decade or so, um, took that out. Why? Because it was things are getting exposed. They didn't want you and me to know about it. So inflation is low. I mean, we'd think it's high at 5%, right? I mean, oh my goodness, it can't be 10%. Well, you go to the store and you're seeing easily that it's 10%, 20% maybe on groceries. So anyway, because other things aren't, at some things may only be 1% or 2%, right, in the economy as you look at the whole thing. But food certainly is up there. So another thing is when you look at when gold and silver surges in price, uh, somebody comes along and the price goes down. Somebody starts selling it. Oh, goodness. We're getting a good price for gold. Instead of selling our gold for, $2,500 an ounce, we're just going to sell it for $1,800 an ounce. And isn't that stupidity? Who would really do that in reality? So someone is making the price of that gold go down, right? And they do that, so the experts tell me, they do that through paper ETFs and things. It's not real gold they're trading. They're using these derivative things to drive the price of the gold and silver, etc., down. And the same kind of thing whenever the stock market starts to go down. All of a sudden, or the bond market, the Treasury goes out to sell bonds. Nobody's buying them, but somehow the bonds get bought. Somehow the stock market is dropping, and oops, not anymore. It's now growing again. They're buying stocks again. Somebody's doing this, and of course, obviously somebody. If things were going the way a market should work, somebody would be doing it. But the question is, which somebodies are doing it and why, right? So, I want to share this with you. I've got two videos that I'm attaching below. I am not a professional financial advisor or economist or market analyst. These other guys are, and they got white hair like me. They've been around a long time. They know a whole lot, and I think they're worth us listening to see exactly where we are. We are on a precipice. That's where we are. And if you haven't gotten prepared for the precipice, then you might want to think about doing so. Now, if you've got pensions, if you've got money in IRAs or other kind of investments, and you're letting some financial advisor take care of it for you, well, you need to make sure that your financial advisor isn't one of those generals who plans for the last war. I mean, in the military, that's a big issue that they have to that they look at. They don't want to get stuck planning their tactics for the last war, because those are always losing tactics. Technologies change, things change, locations change, etc. So, and we're finding that out in Ukraine. The Russians, for example, they went into Ukraine with their tanks, and the Ukrainians started knocking out the tanks with drones. And well, now the Russians got smart and they started refitting their tanks. So they have their tanks. They call them turtles now. And they have a turtle tank that goes above in front of all the other tanks to sort of take all the landmines and other kind of barrages, while the other vehicles follow the turtle tank. But they had to make a change, and that may be what you need to do if your financial advisors are telling you, oh look, we've seen this for years. We saw this in the 90s. We saw this in 2000. Well, there are aspects of 2000 and 2008 that will teach us something. We need to look all the way back to 1970, to the Great Depression. We need to look back and see what today is like, and not what how those things relate to today, and not what happened in 1990. Okay? And if your financial advisor is a stick in the mud, doesn't want you to change, then you might have to tell them, look, this is what I want. And that's what I have to do with my financial advisors. So, anyway, I invite you, take a look at these. They're worth it. And you'll gain something from looking at it. These are good guys who know stuff. Hope you have a good new year. Have a good day.